If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plumb. Let's get started. So Justin needs no introduction, although I will say something briefly about him. Of course, he runs Prime Real Estate and Media up in Canada, and what he always describes himself as a media company that sells real estate, I believe. And we're also joined here by Chrissy, our client success manager. And today I wanted to kick things off and get started, kind of do something a little bit more topic based. So usually we just kind of always generalize this, YouTube for real estate, or then also bring in a guest speakers, things like that. But now we want to kind of focus on some topics so we can really kind of dig into individual subjects on the matter. And this is one of my favorites, which is interruption versus intention-based marketing. And I think I want to just kind of talk about this for a little bit, and then we could definitely open it up to conversation and questions. I mean, this is an open forum, so I'm always welcome to people to come up. And if you want to go ahead and raise your hand and come up on stage, we'd be happy to have you. But I like the interruption versus intention-based marketing. The understanding of that, I think it's a really it's a good foundation to understand that. And I believe it applies to video. And so the thing is that we have been exposed to, and we're probably conducting most of our marketing by interruption. And whenever I say interruption, that's pretty much, like I said, what we've been exposed to our entire lives, which is it's TV commercials, it's billboards, it's magazine ads, it's cold calling, it's door knocking if you apply that to real estate, it's postcards. Now, someone could say, well, how is interruption marketing, based on postcards or magazine ads? Well, think about it. Right, the last time you went to go try to read an article in a magazine, it probably took you quite a bit of time, even when you have the table of contents, to find the actual article, because it seems like most magazines these days, are about 80% ads and maybe 20% articles. So ultimately, you have a magazine subscription because you're either interested in the articles or maybe the pictures, and therefore when you get it, you've got to thumb through quite a bit of that to actually find the article. Not a lot of people I know, unless you're a marketer and you're studying the ads, are really that engaged by the ads. Now the thing is that's also why you see some of these fashion magazines, always bright color ads, perfumes, scents, cologne, those types of things, just to add to that experience. But ultimately, you're looking for content, you're looking for something specific. So if I subscribe to D Magazine, which is Dallas Magazine locally, then ultimately, I want the articles based on Dallas. I want to keep up to date on Dallas. So what the article or the advertiser is in there, I'm not necessarily in the market. Now, something might catch my eye, but otherwise, every single ad in there is an interruption to the experience that I'm actually searching for. It's the same concept with TV commercials. Unless it's the Super Bowl, as far as I know, nobody watches TV for the commercials. Actually, now people subscribe more to services that exclude commercials, right? That's why Netflix is so popular, or you pay for YouTube Premium or Hulu without ads, is because it's like, I just want to watch the show. I'm actually searching out the content. That's what I want. So unless it's the Super Bowl, most of the time, anything we watch on regular TV, so if you're a sports fan, I would think of that in particular, that might be the only thing I watch when it comes to football season. So I want to watch the game. But what happens? TV commercials, right? It's interrupting the game. And so what do you do typically during commercials? Well, you go to the restroom, you grab something to eat, you probably check your phone, you go onto another platform, you stay up to date. So otherwise, TV commercials are interrupting your TV show. And they say now, and actually we just saw this stat at Grow with Video with Sean Cannell and them, is he said we are now being targeted between 8,000 to 10,000 times per day by ads. And when you think about that, you're like, how is that possible? Well, it's everything everywhere. I was driving by a building the other day, maybe it was a small sports complex or something like that, and this is, it just clicked for me there too. When I was driving by that, there was probably 30 different sponsors on the outside of that sports complex. You know, it's like T-Mobile and Nike and Puma and, you know, everybody else that is sponsoring that building. So it's like just in that 1 second while I'm driving by, that split second, I look over to my left and I processed almost probably every single one of those brands and logos that quickly, because we know the eyes can process images in less, you know, in 7/10 of a second, which is why thumbnails are so important on YouTube. But, you know, going back to ads, is that we see this constantly every single day, everywhere we go, and now the numbers are between 8 to 10,000 ads a day. Well, clearly we're not buying 8 to 10,000 products every single day. So everything, all of that we're getting exposed to is interruption marketing, because we're not necessarily in the market at the time. I mean, I already have a T-Mobile cell phone, so whenever I see a T-Mobile ad, it's really irrelevant to me unless they were to say something extremely unique or have a brand new phone or something like that. But I would probably know about that ahead of time. I don't need to wait for advertising. That's why Apple is so powerful, right? It's just all they need to do is let you know when the next product is coming out. And that's where the intention comes in, right? People have full intention to go buy something, which is, you know, all they need to do when you have that brand developed is just let people know when the next release or the next video or the next, you know, whatever it is product you're serving is coming out with. That's the ultimate goal, right? To whenever you just need to let your audience know. But ultimately, we're getting exposed nonstop. I always think about during commercials or during Christmas time, you know, you always see that Lexus commercial with the big red bow on it, right? Somebody's always giving away a car, you know, during Christmas time as a gift. And I always thought, right, you know, how many times do you see that ad during Christmas time, but, you know, how many people just run out and go and buy that Lexus? Probably not a lot, but I would think that maybe anybody that owns a Lexus this day and age, maybe it is stemming from their childhood, right? Growing up, and you see that commercial every single year, every single Christmas, and maybe that just gets embedded. So ultimately that is interruption marketing, but that is the goal of interruption marketing, which is also to usually hit you over the head so many times over and over and over again that finally when you're in the market, you know, for that product or service, hopefully they'll embed that advertisement in your head to make you think of it, which is another reason why jingles and songs and, you know, pictures are so powerful. But jingles are invented because we know this. How many times have you heard a jingle once or twice and then it's stuck in your head for the rest of the day? Or, you know, you're watching a particular show and that commercial comes on over and over and over again, and that's it. And you could probably recite jingles from your childhood. Some of those products or services may not even still be around, but, you know, you think about it, you know, if I were to say like a good neighbor, you know, probably everybody could finish that sentence. So, you know, you just think about that, those types of things. The reason they create jingles and try to embed those types of things is because, you know, they're hoping for the point, in fact, that later down the road, when you do get in the market for that product or service, that you will remember that, you know, that jingle will come through, or you're at the store and you see a brand, you'll recognize that brand from the commercials that you saw 100 times before. But ultimately, that's where, you know, interruption marketing, it's usually the people with the biggest budget win in the end, because you have to target people over and over and over and over again. This is the same thing with platforms. When you look at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you know, nothing wrong with those platforms. I know a ton of agents that are successful on all of those platforms, but when it comes down to it, you look at it, they're also interruption platforms. And I say this in a jokingly way, which is, you know, as far as I know, not a lot of people say, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go on Facebook and see what's on the market. Or, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go on Instagram and see if we can find the best real estate agent. Or, hey, honey, it's time to buy a house. Let's go on TikTok and see if we can find the best dancing real estate agent. Now, again, I know a lot of agents doing very successful on those platforms, but it's not usually people's initial reaction to go search on those platforms whenever they're in the market for real estate. Now, they can absolutely find a real estate agent producing content, but again, they're not likely in the market at that time, you know, to buy or sell real estate. So you do establish a brand, you do establish, you know, a way to connect with them, and they can absolutely subscribe or follow or like your content, and then that is the point, right? They will consume your content over and over and over again. So hopefully in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road, when they are in the market to buy or sell a home, they will think about you. Man, I love Justin's content on TikTok. So you know what? I think that's the guy we should reach out to. That's how that usually happens. Again, because those are interruption-based platforms. As whenever we look at intentional-based, you don't need marketing or advertising whenever you have intention. And also that stems into whenever you do have a product or service and somebody has intention, then you're likely going to grab their attention as well. And so I love that saying, which is if you know someone's intention, you can have their attention, which a lot of people say this day and age that, attention spans are shot, nobody can, concentrate anymore. That's why short form content is the winner, and you got to focus on short form content. However, I just don't want to dismiss long form content as well, because when people are intentional, their attention spans are a lot greater because, they're in the market. Think about it. People that are looking to buy or sell a home, or to move across states, or to move across countries, sometimes even, or move from out of state, they have full intention. They're in a research mode, right? They're not looking to just make a snap judgment. They're thinking about things. They're being intentional. And I love this, you think about interruption versus intention as well. Same thing with, you think about a dog food, dog food, right? Dog food commercials. You can see a dog food commercial 10 times a day. Doesn't mean you're going to run out and buy dog food. You're not necessarily in the market for dog food. But when you run out of dog food, let's say you pour out that last bowl of dog food and you're like, oops, well, I definitely don't want Fluffy to die, right? So I'm going to go onto Amazon. I'm going to intentionally search dog food. I'll probably find it within about 2 seconds of my search, especially if I bought it before, and I'll buy it, and then it'll be on my doorstep within 2 days. And so when we have full intention, we don't need marketing or advertising, at that time. Again, we pour out the last bowl of dog food, we know we need it, and we have to get it or else. So we just go and we buy that. So think if we could position ourselves in that manner whenever it comes down to real estate. And again, nothing to take away from the other platforms. It's just think about getting in front of people when they have full intention, when they're in research mode, whenever they're actually looking to buy or sell. That's where they're going to search, right? They're seeking out information. They're going to Google, they're going to YouTube, and that's where they're looking, they're being intentional, and they're in the market to make those moves. And I love this. I share this with, with people on trainings. I know we don't have the visual here, but let me try to paint the picture. Is that, we know this, that attention spans are still there, that long form content is still relevant, because we can look at the back end analytics of our channel. And if you look at the back end analytics of our channel, it tells a story, it paints a picture. Now, the stats are that 80% of the online traffic is mobile, basically meaning 80% of the traffic online, people are accessing it through their mobile phone. However, we look at the traffic source from our YouTube channel, and 53% of it comes from TV, computers, and tablets. 47% only comes from mobile. And so when you think about what is a TV, what is a computer, what is a tablet, what type of devices are those? Those are research devices. Those are get comfortable devices. Those are sit on the couch, sit in your desk, at your desk, in your chair, right? That's time to dig in. That's time to research. That's time to take time and be in a mindset to consume long form content. And so whenever I look at TV, over 26% of our traffic last year, actually now I believe we're up to 29% of our traffic comes from TV. So that's over 1/4 of our traffic to the YouTube channel comes from TV. Think about how powerful that is. People are sitting on their couch or possibly in their bedroom, laying in their bed, watching our videos on the TV. Think about how powerful that is. And then on top of that, the average view duration that we have coming from TV is almost 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the average view duration coming from TV. So that tells you that people are watching way longer than that. Some people are not watching as long, but to still have an average view duration of 10 minutes from TV tells you that you're locking in people. You have their attention. They have full intention to research this information. They're dialed in. That is extremely powerful. So then you look at computers and tablets. Again, our average view duration is over 6 minutes on those platforms, and they say that it takes over 6 minutes of video consumption for people to start to develop a relationship with you. So computers and tablets, the average view duration is averaging over 6 minutes for those devices as well. So that means a little bit less than TV. Maybe people are not as comfortable, but they still have full intention. They're consuming content, and basically sitting down in one sitting, they are starting to develop a relationship with us. They are extremely familiar with us at that point, and likely what's going to happen, of course, is YouTube is going to push more of our content towards them. So when you look at mobile phone, though, our average view duration on mobile phone is around 4.5 minutes. So that is another indicator that tells us that on mobile phone, even when they're researching or intentionally looking for something, their attention spans are a little bit less on mobile phone. But also think about this. Have you ever tried to buy something on your phone and you were like, this is a little too complicated, I don't like the way it looks, or I don't want to put in all my information because it's saved on my desktop, and you actually stop, and if you're around your computer, or maybe you wait till the end of the day when you get back home, depending if you're out in the field or not, and you say, I'll just wait till later to buy that whenever I'm on my desktop because it looks a lot it's just easier to do, right? All my information is there. I can click here and there versus on my phone, I have to individually type every single thing of my credit card and the ID code and my name, all that stuff. So think about that. When people are not necessarily doing a ton of research, even though 80% of the traffic online is mobile, you think about it, they're going to these platforms, they're not intentionally searching, or their attention span is a little bit less whenever they're on the mobile phone. So this is why I believe that YouTube is so powerful, but also this kicks back into our contact to under contract, which is another reason why when we know their attention and we have their attention, then we know that they're going to make moves a lot quicker. And our stat this year so far is contact to under contract is an average of 45 days, which means the first time anybody ever reaches out to us to getting under contract is literally 45 days. That is pretty quick when it comes down to that process, which means, and we know this because people have told us this several times before, that they will watch our content for months, sometimes even a year before they reach out, or they reach out and they say, we reached out to you when we're ready to make a move. The fastest we've put anybody under contract from the channel has been 3 hours. I mean, that's how quickly we've had people like that person call in directly with the specific address and say, do whatever it takes to get me this house. And that's as quick as it's happened. We've done deals within 6 hours, within 18 hours, within 24 hours of people reaching out, just because when they're in that research mode, when they have full intentionality, we don't have to market to them, right? All we need to do is to have the presence there, to be in front of them, to be the first ones, hopefully, to show up. Because think about this. They talk about this in YouTube Secrets, right? Where's the best place to hide a dead body? It's on the second page of Google or the second page of Amazon, because not a lot of people think about it. When's the last time you searched on Amazon? When's the last time you actually clicked to go to the second page of Amazon? Most of the time, you're going to find what you need on that first page to buy what you want to buy. And Amazon is made up of over 80% of small business owners, and they actually advertise, or they actually pay per click to rank their products. It is based on reviews and a lot of other factors, but there's an algorithm within Amazon to get your products ranked in the top search results in the first page, because that's where people want to be, because they know all the eyeballs are there. They don't have to win every click. If they can just get a small percentage of that, they can have a very successful product. So, being the one that shows up by default or by paying to do that, whatever the way, now we teach that how to do that organically, but the thing is that when somebody's searching for information, people typically follow the path of least resistance. So if you think about it, on YouTube, they actually say 75% of people make their choice within the first 5 videos that pop up on search. So that also tells you, hey, if you can rank in the top 5 videos, then you know you've got a better chance of reaching someone there as well, or getting the click before anybody else. And if you can rank 2 or 3 videos, then you're going to look really good, especially to somebody brand new that's coming out and just starting to search in your city or area what they're looking for. So that is very powerful on top of that, and that's why we base so much off of search engine optimization. It does matter. YouTube search is an evergreen strategy because people will always be searching your city, your neighborhoods, your suburbs. I mean, they'll always be searching that. So that is very important. It's nice to get suggested or to fall into browse, love it, but it's also not an evergreen strategy because YouTube will push that video as long as it decides to push that video, which is great. But again, I would rather something be very searchable on the back end because that's what's going to give the videos longevity, because people every single day will be typing in your suburbs, your cities, your neighborhoods, and be looking for that information. So that's the great thing. That's what I want. I like to kind of talk about that concept, not to say YouTube's better than any other platform or what we're doing is better than any other platform. It's just to think about, you know, how you're marketing. And the other piece of this is that is the psychology, right? I think about platform psychology. I talk about this a lot actually because I think it's hard to convert people, you know, that are on short form content platforms over to YouTube, which is a reason why we don't share our videos anywhere. Because if people are going to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, most of the time they're going there to be entertained, maybe for some education, but not typically on those platforms. They're going to be entertained, or they're going to catch up on their friends or family or see what they're up to. So, you know, they're really looking for, you know, keep an eye on their close friends, but also looking for something funny or to get their mind off of something, which again, when running ads on those platforms is another form of interruption marketing. That's why, you know, any marketer and their dog right now can say, hey, I can get you 100 Facebook leads per month for only $10 a day. I mean, it's very simple. It's not that hard to do that. I mean, anybody can do that. But again, because people are not usually intentional on Facebook searching for real estate, you can get 100 people to click on the ad and fill out a form and give their information. That's not that difficult to do. But the people that are actually in the market or even thinking about making a move is very, very slim. Right now, the stats on most Facebook marketing, and I know results may vary and some people can convert better than others, but the overall stats on Facebook marketing is about a 1% conversion and on average about 9 months to convert. Now, I know people have turned over business a lot sooner or a lot more higher, you know, conversion, but that's again the average. So you think about that. 9 months, you get 100 leads per month. You're going to have 900 people, and you know, before the first deal, you know, gets under contract or closes at that point. Now, I think that it doesn't take that long at all. I know people that do success with that, but again, it's just something to think about. You know, where would you rather be? And if you had an option to market, you know, one way or the other, where might you start, you know, or what might you consider? Now, YouTube also being a free platform, you know, their reach, they want people to see your videos. Now, that's the whole reason why SEO and optimization is very important too, because that actually tells YouTube what your video is about. Some people think it's the video, which YouTube can scan that, but still, it's all the back end, everything else that goes in addition to uploading that video, that actually tells YouTube what your video is about. So when people search it, it knows how to match it or how to promote it to the right person that's actually in the market for that. So that's very important as well. But otherwise, YouTube's #1 goal is time on platform. So they want people to stay on the platform because of the more ad revenue they can generate. So, you know, it's a very creator-friendly platform, and they want to promote, your videos as long as people watch them, and all somebody needs to do is watch it for a good amount of time, and they'll happily serve your videos up to them over and over and over again. And we know this to be true as well because we've all made the simple mistake of watching one stupid cat video on YouTube, and the next thing we know, we get all we see in our feed on YouTube for the next 30 days is stupid cat videos. So, that's the thing, is that somebody watches one of your real estate videos, that's going to trigger YouTube to say, well, hey, if they watched one and they watched it for this amount of time, then let's serve them some more, because clearly, that's content they're looking for. So the longer they stay on, that absolutely matters. And ultimately, think about getting in front of people and being able to convert and being in the right place. So again, it's something to just kind of chew on there, the interruption versus intention based. And it's just a concept that I like to share so that it gets people thinking a little bit differently. And then also, some wonder whenever they start out, why does marketing take long? Well, really anything takes consistency. That's the most important thing. So, consistency, whether you're paying for marketing or doing it organically, consistency is going to come into play. But ultimately, the thing is that that's why a lot of people can go out of business very quickly as well, because they, if they have a certain budget or a limited amount and they spend that on marketing, it's usually an interruption form of marketing, and that's difficult to convert in the beginning. Not impossible, it's just a little bit more difficult because you can be targeting areas or people or demographics that may not necessarily be in the market at that time. Now, maybe something could come of that down the road, but again, that usually comes with consistency. Could you send out one round of postcards and get a listing or two? Absolutely, it happens, but not usually the majority of the time. And so, those are things to keep in consideration, whenever you're considering your marketing plans and how do you want to approach this, and, what do you want to spend your money on, and what budget do you have, and how are you going to implement this, and then ultimately what's the plan, right? So that's one of the things as well, is we don't want to get stuck in analysis paralysis, but at the same time, we do want to have a good solid plan about what do we want to do. So if you come into real estate or you're about to start a new campaign, I believe you owe it to yourself and your best interest and your bank account's best interest to understand completely what you're about to do. Warren Buffett says he does not invest in anything that he does not 100% understand. So it's about, okay, if I'm going to start postcard marketing, you should take time to research and learn and understand postcard marketing. If you're going to market to FSBOs, you should take time to read every FSBO script out there, talk to agents that do well on that, watch YouTube videos, read some blogs, go to some trainings, go to some, understand it. Now again, don't do that for 6 months, but within 30 to 60 days, you could have a really solid plan, on how to market effectively to FSBOs, whether that's a paid strategy or an organic strategy. If you want to do it through postcards, clearly that is a paid strategy. However, there are some inexpensive ways to do that. If you go with one company, it could cost you twice as much. If you go with this company, it could cost not as much. You could get on the back of magazines. Did you know that you could get on the back of magazines, like the little tear-off cards, at half the price of postcards even? So, that's something that could be very powerful if there's a magazine going out to, a certain neighborhood. Let's say there's 30,000 homes in a neighborhood and they have a little neighborhood magazine. You might be able to actually advertise on the back, the little tear-off portion or the little address card where they print people's addresses. There, you can usually add on or tack on to that back page there at half the cost of an actual postcard. So you think about a postcard, what is that, 35 cents? You might be able to do that for 15 or 17 cents a door. Very powerful, very effective. But the only way I knew that is because it was something that I looked into on, what if we were to try print? What if we were to do postcards? Because I hear it time and time again, one of the most effective ways to farm a neighborhood is through print materials. So at the same time, doesn't mean you need to blow your budget on that. Understand how you can maximize your budget, what's available to you at lesser cost or no cost, and how to maximize that. So hopefully that helps out as far as, not that anybody was looking for that, but at the same time, I'm just saying that that was just something, one of the concepts I like to share as far as interruption versus intention-based marketing, to just give people a different mindset about how they approach things and what they're going to, make their next decision on as far as marketing. I see we got, is it Jan or Yan? Is it Jan? Yan, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think it's better now.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, what's up?
Yes, it's Jan, Levi. Yeah, thank you so much for beautiful room, like always. I just have a question. Years ago, I was attending a seminar on Google, and they had this project called the Hummingbird, where they were the pioneer in doing the search based on people talking. Like when you say a word like, "Oh, I'm looking for floor mops," or whatever, and then suddenly it shows up on your Amazon or all different places. So my question is related to that, is like, the content of the video, like the verbiage, the words we use during the video, how much of that helps your you come up in the search? I know like the hashtags, the title, all that helps, but is there any number or analysis on how much of the content of the video, like the words we use, helps you in the search for you to come up? That's my question.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have Chrissy jump in here in a second, but so absolutely. If you think about it, YouTube transcribes every video. Now, there's a strategy to that as well. So you can, make sure you're talking. I mean, if you're talking about a neighborhood, let's just say Plano, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, Plano, Texas. I mean, that is the key word. That is the search term when it comes down to it. When you strip it down to as basic as possible, the suburb is the key term. So, is that in your tags, in your titles, your descriptions? But also, whenever you're talking in your video, yes. I mean, it helps. If you never say Plano in your video, is that going to completely kill the video? Not likely. But, if you're having a conversation, ideally you would mention that at least at the beginning of the video. Hey, in this video, or that's why I typically start out videos with, so you're thinking of moving to Plano, Texas, because that's a very easy way to spell it out, to say this video is about Plano, Texas. Well, in this video, we're going to take you all through Plano, show you some different sites around Plano, different neighborhoods of Plano. I mean, you don't have to overkill it. You don't have to beat it to death. But at the same time, saying the key term that you're actually, the video's about, you should do that naturally. So, hopefully it's not something that you really have to dig into or think about too much. But yeah, I do believe it's important. Now, what's the exact measurement or weight to that? Can't say. I can't say if you, say the word 10 times, that's better than saying it 5 times. But ideally, it is mentioned somewhere at the beginning of the video, maybe 2 or 3 times. That should be enough, but yes, what you say in the video does help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. So yeah, I'm serving the Southern California, like LA, and so I usually try to start with the topic, like you said, in the area, but I wanted to see if there is a number, like it looks like 3 or 5 times, it's good enough.
Yeah, I would say so. Chrissy, do you have anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, there's not an exact number to it, but just making sure that it's relevant. It's, obviously you don't want to keyword stuff, in your transcript or, throughout your copy, because that, can hurt your overall ranking. But overall, if it makes sense and when you're reading it or when you're saying it, it feels natural, you say it a couple of times, it's going to help your ranking. So it's kind of a vague answer, because Google says the same thing about, keyword stuffing and just the keyword use. But I would just say, as a rule of thumb, if it makes sense to the viewer, it's going to create a good viewer experience. So that's what I would go off of. Just make it so it makes sense. They're hearing it and seeing it enough between the transcript and your description, and you should be good to go.
Yeah. Hey, Justin, I don't know how much you caught of that. Do you have any insight on whenever you're filming videos, do you work a lot on the back end? And then also, do you try to mention, the subject you're talking about on purpose, or do you just let it happen naturally, or what's kind of like your flow?
Are we talking about listing videos or tour videos?
Well, either the general question is he was like, should you say your keyword in your video? So I mean, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I literally think of SEO like all the time. So the way that I frame a lot of my content and even like Instagram stories, I'm kind of thinking in the same parameters, right? I like continuity. So the way I like to think about it, Jan, is what is your experience as a viewer, right? Your experience as a viewer essentially is you have a million agents online telling you everything you want to hear because they want to sell you something. So how am I going to separate myself from the pack? And I think the easiest way to think about that is I'm not necessarily trying to get you to buy something off one video that I put out. And I think this goes to what Levi was explaining at the beginning of the segment. I'm trying to show you what it's like to work with me. Now, the reason I'm thinking about my language is I'm thinking about the problems you're trying to solve and the search terms that you're trying to solve. So quite often in my content, and I don't care if I'm at a coffee shop or I'm doing a listing video or a neighborhood tour video, I really do want to trigger that response in your mind that I'm about to answer a question that maybe you've typed in online. Right. I do think from an audio perspective that Google, and this has been for years, they've been talking about this, will make audio searchable and SEO searchable eventually. So I think I'm putting pennies into or nickels into the meter, quarters into the meter, whatever you want to say, that down the road, the thousands of videos I have out there will become SEO searchable. If not, regardless, it still triggers that innate response in you that maybe you want to move to Port Stanley, Ontario, where I'm standing right now, and you don't think there's anywhere to eat. Well, there's this awesome little marketplace that I was just at called Fire Hall that has fresh foods, locally sourced. It's a place that you can grab and go whenever you want, right? So now I just maybe took away a barrier for you to purchase one of the new homes I'm about to shoot a video in. So to long-winded answer, yes, I do think about the verbiage that I'm using. And I think the continuity between, say, my Instagram stories, my listing videos, even my listing descriptions, if it can all effectively be similar language and tone of voice, which is why I voice to text so much, I think you're going to get a better caricature of who I am so that by the time we meet, it feels like you've known me for 20 years, right? So I do think it's important to think about the words and the way you phrase things.
Great input, Justin, like always. One of my pet peeves are, that's probably why I was raised this question is, you search, like you're on YouTube or on Google and you're searching something and there's some of the stuff that comes up and like the content of the video is not even related to what you're, like the question you have. And that's why I think Google could do better in that. It's like, if there was a way that they would give more value to the content of the video, what is discussed in the video, I think it would be much more fruitful to the consumer. And that's why I think like some people are smart with the hashtags or the titles. They come up in the search, but they're not exactly the answer to the question. And that's why I thought I wasn't sure, but I thought that could be an important factor. And I wanted to see how I can utilize it.
I do want to address that super quick. You go ahead, Chrissy, first, and I'll jump in after you.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that will also, YouTube does kind of have a catch-all for that, because if you're putting in your keyword stuffing or you're using irrelevant hashtags or irrelevant tags, then the user experience is poor, right? So that's why it's so important for when you're creating your videos to, not only have your transcript reflect what you're actually talking about, but to make sure that your descriptions, your hashtags and all of that and your tags, they're actually relevant to the video, because YouTube will boost and reward creators that create relevant descriptions, relevant hashtags, relevant headlines, so that there's a good user experience, because that's really the number one target for YouTube. And when it's distributing your content for you and pushing that out, is if there's a good user experience, good retention, good view duration. So, there is kind of a catch-all for that. And occasionally, you will get a ranked video that, has some clickbait and things like that. But overall, you really do want to create a good user experience from the beginning, using those descriptions, headlines, and hashtags and tags for all of that.
Yeah, I love that you broke that piece down, because it did answer the previous question that I was answering in terms of like, is it searchable? It is if you're doing the SRT files and the transcripts. So that's one. Two is, Jan, I'll compare it to this, right? We all know people will go on Instagram and buy, 30, 40, 50,000 followers. Here's a really simple way to see if somebody's a fake account. If you jump into their comments and they have 100 comments, everybody's like, well, it must be real. Look at the engagement. But if you jump in somebody's comments and you notice it's always like the same 5 or 6 accounts posting 6 or 7 times in their comments on every post they do, that's a troll account. That's somebody that bought 40, 50,000 fake followers. The reason I make that comparison is I do think short term, it may show the vanity metrics of like, oh, look at this guy, he top ranks. But I think downline, you're not going to actually get any net effective business from that, right? Like, you may look like you're doing something, but I know Chrissy and Levi know what it's worth to sit down and just put in the work and the value of growing it organically and with the right audience. So I think you just got to ignore a lot of that stuff. It's going to get through because people are going to try and hack the system and the algorithm. But to me, it equates the same as people with fake followers that have no substance to their actual business.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, great feedback there from everyone. Thank you so much. So if anybody else has any questions, feel free to come up. I'm also happy to end early because I think we covered quite a bit there. So yeah, I mean, that's really all I got for today. Just really, like, I wanted to discuss those two variations there and dig into it a little bit more. So happy we could help you out there, Jan. And then also, we'll see if there's any last minute questions, or I'll check the chat. But, oh yeah. So I will say, disclaimer, we actually did hire I hired a company that came recommended from Sean Cannell and them, and Ryan Pineda and Alex Hermosi are using this company to work on an Instagram strategy, and that's something that I just put into place. Not my personal preference, but I'm going to trust the process and see how that works. They've grown my account extensively over the last 40, whenever that conference was. Now, what I had before was all organic real estate agents, which I loved. Every single follower that I had on my account, that person went to the account, found some value, and made that choice on their own. Working through a company, which is basically, they're like a PR company, and they have a process and a system to drive up engagement, and at the same time I'm going to see, okay, well, how does this work? Because we are going to try some things through a strategic standpoint on Instagram that is not my primary platform. It's not something that I spend a lot of time. Actually, I don't spend any time researching Instagram to understand it or the algorithm or anything like that. I'm still completely dialed in on YouTube, where we have, gained all of our traffic organically. And of course, I think our business reflects from that as well, because the people are extremely intentional. But we are testing things. I'm constantly looking for new ways to figure things out. We're actually testing on YouTube as well, not from our channel, but I'm testing an inadvertent way to advertise and to see, because we reached, I believe we've proven the point of driving organic traffic and business. And so we've proven that point. So I know that works. Now I'm curious to see, can we throw fuel on the fire through paid ads? Because if you want to grow and scale a business, paid advertising is one of the absolute best ways to do it, but you have to do it correctly, and that's why I also believe you shouldn't have a marketing budget. If marketing works, you should absolutely spend as much as possible on marketing. However, you should have a testing budget. You have to test things to see if they're going to work or if they're actually going to give you a return. And if you're going to spend $1, can you get 2, 3, or 4 or 5 back? That's really the key question in marketing is, does it work? Does it give me a bigger ROI than what I put into it? And it's one of the ways that Alex Hermosi scaled tremendously over the last several years, is by scaling paid advertising. So, but I still don't recommend running ads, in my opinion, directly from a channel, because even though we haven't done that from our real estate channel, I've done it with a couple of other channels, and what I've learned from that is that ads can inflate subscribers, it can inflate views. Now, the thing is that you can't really tell, is that the right subscriber or not on YouTube? So if you run ads and you start building up more and more subs, you don't necessarily know if that's really your target audience of who you're going after. You hope it is, because clearly you're probably targeting people or demographics or areas, whatever it is you're trying to run to. So it should through that manner. But I figured out a way that I can run some ads, not from the channel, but maybe see if I can throw fuel on the fire. We're about 30 days in, results so far a little questionable, but at the same time, I want to say I think I still need another 60, 90 days to really see if that works out. If that is the case, it's going to be tremendous. I mean, it'll be great. But also, recently we've also looked at how do we position listing videos on there as well and generate more sellers. And I think we've got a good understanding. I think time will tell. We've tested out a couple of things in the last 2 weeks that one of them has driven a lot of traffic. So that's pretty significant as well. So ultimately, I think what it comes, everything comes down to testing, trying, experimenting, winning, learning, all those types of things. We want to try to figure out the best way that we can scale the team as well. And so, what we're doing on several different fronts is just a lot of testing. Now, we're also hiring as well, because I do believe this is what's helped us scale quickly, is I'm not trying to do everything myself, which is something that I always did before. And that's why whenever outside forces came in and affected my business, it took me to zero. Because when I got deployed, or whenever I got sick, or whenever a global pandemic hit, those were all outside forces, and I wasn't positioned correctly in my previous businesses because I was dependent upon myself. And whenever outside forces came in, whether that directly or indirectly affected me, it basically took me down. And so that's the only difference, is this time, as I said to myself, got to make better choices, better decisions. How do I remove myself from the equation? I have to be in the business, of course, to make sure everything runs and operates smoothly, but also how quickly can I scale with additional people or other people or systems or processes or, things like that so I don't have to be completely tied into it at all times. And if something else happens and I get removed from the equation, whether temporarily or permanently, can it still function and continue on without me? So those are just some things to keep in mind and consider as well, but always testing. And so we'll see how things work out. But that's all I got for today. Justin, anything else you want to throw in to close this out, or anything you got? Anything you've been working on lately or testing that's worked out well for you?
I did a thumbnail and I put Morgan Freeman's face on it and it blew up. The click-through rate was amazing, and I got all kinds of people reaching out to me on it. So that worked out really well. And Christina Smallhorn shared the hack, and this is the hack I'll give freely to everybody here, is it's bigger and more saturated than you think, right? So if you're putting your face on a thumbnail, or you're looking to get people to pay attention, make it bigger than you think, like almost a little bit uncomfortably large. And I A/B tested like 4 different thumbnails, and the click-through rate jumped to like 12% on that video. So I was pretty happy about that. But no, other than that, the structure of the show is great. I love how you do the monologue at the beginning. I think that's a really nice cadence. I enjoy these rooms quite a bit. So please keep pinging me in, and I'll be happy to support you. And obviously, Practical and Tactical starts in 8 minutes. And I'm fired up for that combo. We're talking about like being inspired by teams like the Chicago Bulls, Mercedes Petronas from F1. I'm thinking City Kickboxing in Australia, how they build camaraderie, how they train, how they hold each other accountable, and how that translates into real estate. So I think that'll be fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us today, and we will see you next week. We are going to be testing tomorrow as well, the live streaming. So we're going to test out Justin's little hack he gave me at the beginning. So if you're around and you want to jump on live, or you're in our Facebook group, check that out. If you're not, just search The Real Agents on Facebook and you should find it, and we'll test it. We'll either crash and burn or fly high. All right, one way or the other.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you're interested in partnering with us to access our YouTube course and coaching all for free, schedule a call at 5starstrategycall.com.